So off ahead now from Swindon, heading now down to the train station, where I'm going to get a train to Cardiff and then change up to Pontypridd.
Tren sy'n nesaf at platfform 6 yw gwasanaeth 40 o'r glow trafnidiaeth Cymru i Pontypridd. Galw am Pontypridd Maintenance, The Taste, Llangar, Rhadir, Funnel Tower, Star Treforest, Pontypridd,
It's the River Taff. And there is the old bridge of Pontypridd. It's completed by William Edwards in 1756, I think. It was actually his third attempt. I think later on they had to do some repairs on it. But the holes in the side are clever because they reduce the mass of the bridge while keeping most of its strength. The bridge was actually the subject of a painting by Turner. I think it was from around this point of view, but a little bit further back down the river. Next stop, Pennycoed. I'll get off at the Queen's Head, and it's about 1.5 miles or so walk to Tarren Deusant. Here we are at Pennycoed, and here starts my walk. This along the way, an old farmhouse, I guess. I wonder how old it is. These stones are all left as they are, and they managed to fit them all together. That is an art in itself, I'm sure. I think I've got to go this way. This is definitely the way. We're getting close now. It's getting closer. The stream below is called Nant Castelli, which means stream of castles. Now, Tarren Deusant, I think, is escarpment of two saints. So Dai is two, Sant is saint, and Tarren is escarpment. There we go. That rock there looks to be of a different material than the rest of it. Here we are at last. People leave the weirdest of offerings. It's a nice green stone with a nice bit of white next to it. There's those amazing faces. There's a lot of contemporary graffiti here too. Those faces are fascinating. This place is beautiful. Oh. You know, I'm starting to think, I wonder how much of this, these carvings are actually really are contemporary. Because you can see some initials of people's names they've carved in the wall, but you've got these kind of almost matrix of crisscrosses, and a lot of the faces seem to fit quite nicely in there. I'm looking at that, because there's a body and a head. Oh, it's got little horns as well. This place is alive with energies. Really going to do some dowsing. Just going to sit and soak it up for a bit. Quite literally, it's really wet here. I think we had a lot of rain yesterday, so it's working its way down. So I'm going to do a little bit of dowsing now and do some yes, no and some half splitting dates and see if we can find out when this place was actually carved. There's pretty scant information on Tarren Deusant at the moment. It's supposedly being carved, or the faces were carved, early medieval period, and the way they say, the reason they say that is because you get quite sharp carving when you make it, and then the weather ages it and rounds off the edges. So from that amount of weather wear, I think they can tell when these things were carved. Of course, this is assuming that they didn't chamfer the edges when they carved it. There's a lot of assumptions with this place, so with all the faces everywhere, people are saying it's a kind of Celtic head cult. And then other people say because there's a spring but down below, it must be some kind of water cult. So I think the upshot of it all is nobody really knows. Right, so I've done a little bit of question and answer with the dowsing. Actually did a may I, can I, should I after dowsing the age, but seems to be pretty cool. So there's no energy lines going through this site, no lays or ley currents. There seems to be a kind of guardian presence here, with a Welsh name beginning with B for Bravo, but I really couldn't pull anything out more than that. So I think we're done, but I'd love to sit and chill out for a bit, but it's soaking wet everywhere, and I've only bought one pair of trousers with me, so yeah, not so practical. Let's just do a close-up scan. So yeah, there's a lot of contemporary letters here. I wonder what that is. There's symbols here. There are things here that aren't contemporary, that aren't faces either. I bet also there's probably some stuff under all that dried moss there. This is where the spring feeds them then. You see an angry face there? Oh no, it's got a bit of an upturn in the mouth. For fungus. Anyway, better head back now and see what the bus timings are. This is just a short addendum for my little film I've made this week about my visit to Tarren Deusant. I had to cut out a big section of it because it really was truly terrible. So there's a couple of little bits missing. When I went dowsing at the site to try and ascertain the age of the face carvings, I used the dowsing rod in a kind of yes and no mode and a half cutting the date mode to try and find how old the carvings were. Just going to try and explain first of all how I did that. So I'm going to simulate it with a rod. So there's my rod, and it went something like, are these carvings more than 2,000 years old? And the rod basically says no. Are the carvings more than 1,000 years old? And it should provide the same answers if I think back to it. The rod says yes. So we know we're between 1,000 and 2,000 years old. So now we say, we cut it in the middle, 1,500. Are the face carvings more than 1,500 years old? The answer is no. So now we half cut again. Are the face carvings more than 1,250 years old? And the answer is no again. So we know, that's where I stopped. So we know that the carvings are between 1,000 and 1,250 years old. So you can kind of half cut down using yes, no answers. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing I described in that cutout segment was how I actually do the dowsing. I covered it slightly in the Hansel sisters video when I went out to the forest, but yeah, just a little technique for anyone that wants to know how I do it. So we balance the rod and it sits in the middle, so you get used to basically it'll be swinging all over the place to start with, and you get used to holding it in the center and letting it balance. Now this also balances your mind as well, so it becomes a physical and mental thing, which kind of helps you channel through the information. You see, I think we connect into a sort of all-knowing part of ourselves when we do this, and the way the rod works is it amplifies slight muscle movements in the hand, which kind of bypass this sort of surface conscious filter, which tends to get in the way of things like this. Now, as you do this more and more, I think you do strengthen and build a little channel where you do start to get the info straight away, so it will come through before the rod's actually indicated the answer that you want. So you do the balance, and then once you get good at just letting the rod sit still You then ask what your indications are, so I'll say, what is my yes indication? And it will tip to my left. So it tips in. So I'm actually left-handed, and I'm using my right hand here because it seems to be more sensitive. So my focus has gone. Oh yeah, there it is. It's back again. And yeah, and then you ask what your no is. My no now is just a straight ahead. It doesn't move. It used to swing to the right, but it doesn't anymore. A lot of people use a pendulum for yes and no, and it works really well for them. I find it's not so good for me because it swings anti-clockwise regardless of yes or no. Okay, now once you've got the basic principles sorted out like that, and it really is, there's no magic set of rules for it. It works differently for different people. This is just how I do it, and it may work for you. So take the good bits, throw away the bits that don't work for you, and see how you get on. Okay, now when I'm approaching a site, there's 3 questions I ask. I think I mentioned this briefly in the Hansel Trees video. Is may I, can I, should I? So may I is you working with the idea that we're not perfect beings, and armed with the information that we're going to get, is it going to be good for everybody? Good for you, good for everybody else? And also the energies that you're tapping into are for the most part sentient themselves, and they may actually not want you digging around. So it's kind of respecting the privacy of the sentient energies too. Then there's should I, which again is kind of looking at it from a sort of more moral point of view. So should I really be doing this? What are my motivations? That's right, yeah, you're looking at your own motivations, and are they true and honourable? I think I've got those in the wrong order. And then there's can I, which is, are you actually capable of detecting these energies? Because you don't want to go off thinking you've detected something when maybe you just can't do it, or maybe you can't access the particular level that you're looking into. So it's actually, I've got those in the wrong order. It's may I, can I, should I? And that will do. So that's the end of my little video about a trip to Pontypridd and Tarren Deusant, if I can pronounce that correctly, and see you in the next one.